Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to yet another episode of Podshots with Bhawna. Well, at Podshots with Bhawna, our conversations are designed in order to activate thoughts, to fuel the action, and to uplift all the leaders with clarity, confidence, and consciousness. And today, actually, I am very excited and honored to be joined by a guest who is not only a seasoned transformational leader, but her journey is actually of strategic excellence and a soulful leadership. So, allow me a moment till I bring her up onto the screen for all of us. Okay, guys, as I was mentioning to you a while before, that today on Podshots with Bhawna, I'm not only excited, delighted, but I'm actually honored and privileged to have a very, very esteemed, seasoned transformational leader with me, a former managing director of Tupperware, someone who has held various senior leadership roles with organizations like Oriflame, now the founder and CEO of Mantra and the force behind She Mantra. With over more than 2.5 decades of experience in global leadership, she is actually, I would say, a champion of conscious leadership, which is, leading with purpose, presence, and power. At Mantra, she actually advises the CEOs, the founders on growth, culture, and leadership. And She Mantra is her baby, a very, very vibrant community which she has built of women entrepreneurs to empower them to lead boldly and consciously. I'm so excited, and please join me welcoming a face and a name very well recognized and known in the industry. I'm talking about none other but Shilpa Ajwani. Shilpa, thank you once again, and I'm really honored to have you on my show. Thank you so much for accepting my invite.
Thanks for having me, Bhavna. I love the format of Podshots and excited to be here in conversation with you today.
I'm sure the even audience would be very, very eager to, hear your, words of wisdom. So I just quickly let you know the format of the show, although you are a bit familiar with the same. So as the name suggests, it's a shorter version of podcast. So that's the reason I have coined it name as Podshots. So it's an under 20-minute show. So where, although it's difficult to distill the wisdom of, multiple decades in that shorter span, but would love to have those crisp very, very insightful conversation with you. And towards the end, I'll have a 1 minute rapid fire session with you in order to know you a little more informally. So very funny, quirky questions. So I hope you're okay with that.
Yes, I am.
Okay, wonderful. So, Shilpa, as I was mentioning, that you are actually champion of conscious leadership, which has those three pillars, I would say, which is of leading with purpose, presence, and power. So, I would really love for myself and the audience know a little more about all these three elements. So, let's start first with the purpose. So, you have held various very high leadership roles in corporate life to now being a founder of your own ventures. So what, according to you, leading with purpose meant during those days, and what does it mean to you now?
So this is such a beautiful question, and I'm reflecting as I'm answering to you, Bhavna, right now, that I became a very young managing director at the age of 38. And on one of my birthdays, I really had this reflection on the fact that it has been a life of success. It also led me to asking myself a deeper question, which was that what would make it a life of greater significance? Right. So I had worked with purpose oriented, purpose led organizations all my life. It was a conscious choice that I had made. And, outcomes were critical in those years. As a leader, I was responsible for those, but the approach was always anchored on purpose. And I think this is something that I carried with me in my entrepreneurial journey. So when I asked myself that question, that what would make it a life that moves from success to greater significance, that's where I think the purpose screamed out loud, which said that my purpose is really to amplify the impact of purpose-led leaders, entrepreneurs, and organizations. And I think it just matured as Uno Mantra, my strategy consulting and leadership advisory firm, was formed. And then with She Mantra, which was a community, very different from Uno Mantra in its origin and purpose again. But the purpose in both these places is what I articulated first. And I'm so happy that even after all these years, we stand rock solid on it. And to me, I have seen in my personal experience, professional experience, purpose powers performance.
Wonderful.
Always.
I think this really sums it up very well. And starting with purpose, obviously, rest everything falls in place. So I think that's a wonderful way of, and you sharing your own story. I think that really is very, very relatable. So thanks for that. So now coming to the second element of presence. So we talk a lot about, having a presence of leader. But what, according to you, would you want to, share from your experience, that what does it really mean to, make your presence felt and not really your position? So if you can give your experience, which really shape the outcome because of your presence and not really those titles and the position.
So it's a story that I want to share with everyone who is watching us and listening to this, Bhavna. Many, many years ago, I was someone who didn't have a really big leadership title. I was working for a beauty company, and we had dispatched goods worth lakhs and lakhs. And almost 2.5 decades, 3 decades ago, that was a lot of money, right? And that truck got hijacked somewhere in the Northeast, and we had no clue. And in it were orders for our business partners who were spread all over the Northeast, but especially in Nagaland.
Okay.
And, with those orders, they were to have qualified for certain schemes, won some foreign trips, a lot of incentives. And imagine not getting those orders in their hands in time. They lost face in front of customers. They lost those incentives. And they were really, really very angry. And those were not the days of mobile connectivity. We didn't know what was happening. So I decided, against everybody's advice, to actually go down there because I understood what they were going through. And everybody said, you don't have to do it. We'll dispatch things again. Let us wait for the insurance outcome to be clear. I said, no, they deserve our presence more than anything else. They need answers from us. And I went there and I stepped out of my hotel room. I still remember it was a hotel in Kohima, and it had this rounded staircase coming from both sides. As I emerged to go down that staircase, I could see almost 200 to 50 people gathered there. They had pushed their way through the lobby, through the staff. They didn't let my teams enter because they were so angry, so upset. And they thought that they will, make me hostage and get, what they wanted from the company. And imagine right now I'm all alone and there are some 250 people. For them, I'm a complete stranger. I, sort of represent the headquarters far away in Delhi, and they can't trust us right now. And to me, I'm still so proud as I think about it. I get goosebumps, but
I can get it
what
just
turned
hearing
out,
you.
right? And what turned out, their viewpoint of looking at me as this stranger who supposedly was wielding authority, but looked very weak standing by herself there, right? To someone they genuinely embraced, hugged, as I listened to what they went through, empathized with them, and from just someone who could have come with power from the headquarters. I decided that compassionate authority is what I wanted to lead with at that moment. And I
I think
think that really allowed us to lower the temperature, get an
I'm sure.
understanding, And we created a win-win outcome out of that very tricky, volatile situation for us.
I can imagine, and thanks for sharing this wonderful story. I mean, stories like this, I mean, really emphasizes on the fact that leaders like you are not just someone who's speaking those classroom kind of jargon. So it's something which you have actually practiced, and
True.
I'm so great to hear it, and and nothing is can replace that human connection. So I think when you went there and you connected with them, that presence obviously must have won their heart more than anything else. So I think wonderful experience. Thanks for sharing. Now coming to the third element, which you touched upon, that the power factor. So obviously many a times the leaders get carried away with, again, that so-called the power titles which they have. But what, according to you, how the leaders can practice? I mean, generally people feel power means controlling, authority, which comes, naturally with that word power. So, from your, experience, what insight would you like to share that, they can wield that power, but without demeaning or diminishing others? So I think that's something which we would love to hear from you.
So I really feel, and I have seen that in all my experience also, Bhavna, that purpose-led conscious leaders, they lead differently. And for them, I really feel that they really appeal to, their higher conscious self. So it is not the concept of power over, but it is power with and power to. And I think when you start to look at that, automatically the intention really shifts from control to what can we do together to create win-win outcomes. And I have always maintained that if we so want, 1+1 is not 2, it is not even 11, it is 111 and much more. So as a conscious leader, how can you really operate from that sense of security, really work on yourself to understand what role ego plays in your leadership, and work upon that. And thirdly, to really have the courage to operate from that self-awareness, and a sense of security, a sense of abundance, to take people with you. This is going to be the age of collaboration. I very much believe it, inside and outside of organizations. And the sooner we operate from that higher consciousness, which allows us to make this happen, I think leaders would just win magnetically, effortlessly, and joyfully. That's my belief.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, I mean, that self-awareness should come first. I mean, many a times leaders don't really realize, so inadvertently also they practice these kind of controlling or authoritative nature. So I think it's very important that they get this kind of self-awareness way advance in time, than the damage gets done. Okay, so now moving to after all these three major elements, now coming and talking a little bit about the culture. So especially more than any time before, these are the times when we talk about safe environments in the organization, equitable spaces for all genders. So what, according to you, would you like to give advice to? I mean, although this is hallmark of any successful leader, but still, what would you give that piece of advice for them to practice, that to foster that psychological safety, especially in the organization which are very complicated, or matrix organization where things are difficult to manage?
So I really feel psychological safety is such an important element in creating the speed of trust, right? And trust really, leads to performance and sustainable outcomes, right? So it really starts with people within the organization, especially in environments that are more complex and diverse, to feel safe and to feel included and to feel like they belong, right? And as a leader, you will always win when you begin with that as your agenda. right? So I really feel that the best way to do that again is to work upon your own emotional intelligence. When you work from again self-awareness and have that social awareness, that's where you start looking at becoming vulnerable yourself, showing up, saying that, I don't know this, or I'm curious to learn this from you. Right? To create social contracts where people know that there will be fairness. If they speak up, there will not be retribution. Right? If there are conflicts, they will not be swept under the carpet. They will be addressed, and they have as much a right to speak as anybody else in the organization, because that leader is listening, right? And I think the more we listen actively, intently, for what's said and what is not said, even more importantly, especially in complex
Right.
environments, things are changing so fast. You have to be able to pick up the nuances, right?
True,
A lot
true.
of people don't express, but they
Right.
feel. So
Yes.
I really feel a good leader will be able to pick up all of those signals and use them in a way that it works again for those people, for their teams, for the organization. And I really feel that psychological safety is table stakes in the sense that it's the starting point. It's not a luxury that a leader creates, or some organizations feel they're lucky to have it. It has to be cultivated again
True.
very, very purposefully.
Right, right. Yeah, it has to start from the core. It cannot start somewhere uh, at one function is doing it, another function is like completely in silo. So I think that, as you rightly mentioned, everyone should have that sense of belonging is the key factor for feeling that inclusiveness. So very rightly mentioned. So now coming to the last part of this core grade, now talking about Shi Mantra, which I know is very close to your heart, and I'm glad that I'm part of this vibrant community. So just want to understand from you that. Your thought process or your aspiration to build this Shi Mantra was to empower the women entrepreneurs to lead more authentically and boldly. So what is that uh, advice which you would like to give it to the leaders to have that mind shift change, in order to let this thing actually happen on the ground so
Hmm.
authentically and so consciously?
Right. So She Mantra actually was born during the pandemic, Bhavna, and the simple purpose I started it with was to create a safe space, an encouraging space for holistic personal and professional growth for women entrepreneurs in service-based businesses such as coaching, consulting, counseling, and more. And over a period of time, we've seen how beautifully that has panned out, and what I see the most is generosity, abundance, support, and coming from a place of purity, where so
Right.
many hands and hearts get together
Correct.
to create something which is abundant. So that's the mindset shift that I would love to see. That is one of our core principles at She Mantra as well, abundance. And if we are able to shift our mindsets from scarcity to abundance, so much gets sorted almost automatically,
True, true.
right? Because within that abundance mindset is integrated your high self-worth, high self-confidence, right?
True.
And when you have those and you're operating with those, imagine as a leader, how much of a difference will you make? And not just by what you say or what you do, but by your sheer presence itself.
Absolutely.
So that's where I feel that we need an abundance mindset inside of communities, organizations, families, the world as a whole today.
No, I think through this community, you are definitely attaining that aspirational goal. What you have said to great extent, I'm sure that you would further want to scale it to the next level. So obviously, there's a lots to look forward towards that. But from my experience itself, I can say that it's definitely a place which is full of all the elements which you mentioned. So thanks a lot for creating this kind of space for the women leaders. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the core grade. So now, as I told, so let's have some fun as well before we wind up the show. So now we'll have a minute of a rapid fire. So if you are ready, then I'll put the timer.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay, so Shilpa, what's your morning ritual that prepares you for the day?
Silence followed by a good cup of steaming ginger tea.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, so this is interesting. Boardroom drama or WhatsApp group drama, which requires more of conscious leadership?
Both, but I think, my life these days is so around WhatsApp with all the community that we host there. So that's a drama I live a lot more. The boardroom drama continues since I am on certain advisory boards. But I wish we could remove the drama from both the places.
Okay, so if you could give your younger corporate self one brutally honest line, what would that be?
Can you just breathe and take it easy? You're good the way you
are. That's great. Okay. If you want the leadership consultant, what completely unrelated profession would you have been?
Okay, so if I'm not this, then what would I have been? I would have loved to become a documentary maker, documenting lives of interesting, purpose-led people doing amazing things in the world. I would want to capture those stories and bring them to life.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, email at 11:59 p.m. Ambition or boundary violation?
Depends if you're a night owl or an early riser. Everything's relative. For me, it is definitely a violation of my boundaries. I sleep early.
Oh, that's great. Okay, the last one. Complete this sentence. Conscious leadership is not about dash dash dash.
Feeling superior to others just because you think you operate from a lens which is called conscious.
Oh wow, that's a wonderful summation. So it was absolutely a very enriching conversation what we had, Shilpa. I'm sure the viewers are definitely going to gain a lot from the wisdom of your more than 2.5 decades and the kind of candid conversations what we had, and actually with the real life examples which you are practicing. I think that has really made it really worthy conversation. So thank you very much. And once again, I wish you all the very best for all the endeavors you are doing and many more which you might have planned for the future. Wish you all the best for the future at the personal as well as the professional level. And thanks again to be my guest.
Thank you, Bhawna, for having me here. It's been a privilege talking to you. I love your energy, your vivaciousness, and I really value you as a part of She Mantra as well. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much. Good day.
Good day to you too.
Okay, what a wonderful, candid, insightful, and enriching conversation it was from the senior transformational leader herself, and not just the classroom jargon, but her own actual experiences which she has practiced on ground. So if you are a solopreneur or someone who's already steering the organization or scaling your business, I'm sure there was lots to take away from this particular conversation, and it would have definitely nudged you to check your leadership practices and start practicing the leadership with purpose which really defines your thought, the presence which really holds your ground more effectively, and the power which definitely let others also feel the same power and the wisdom. So this was a great conversation and a wind up for this particular episode. And till we meet next time, same channel, stay curious, stay candid, stay bold, and start practicing the leadership of purpose, presence, and power. So this is a very, very conscious take from this particular episode. Till we meet next time, take good care of yourself and your loved ones. Bye-bye. Signing off for today.